Hello people of YouTube, my name is Delaney and I'm making this video to explain my Disney audition experience. I know there are a million and one other videos out there doing the same thing, but when I was researching for my audition, there was only one that I found that was for the Shanghai Disney Resort, which is the audition that I went to. It was actually a double audition for both Shanghai and the Disney Cruise Line. So when I went onto the audition website, the schedule, it listed them as separate auditions, but they were the same day and the same location. So I'm making this video to put that out on the internet to see. So if anyone else is going to one of those auditions, this is kind of what to expect, I guess. Don't take it as hard fact because this is just what mine was. They might change it. So yeah, online, they only had registration for the Shanghai audition, even though they were the same ones. So you would email them like your contact information, your name, and your age or something, and then they emailed you back like, okay, you're registered. But I don't think you had to do that because you didn't have to do that for the cruise line portion of the audition. So anyway, the day of the audition, I showed up. I think even before 9 o'clock. The audition was at 10, but registration was supposed to start at 9:30. We got into the dance studio at 9, I think. It was in Vancouver because this audition tour, it was all through Canada. And I actually live in the United States, but I went up to Vancouver for this audition. And meeting other girls, like while we were waiting, there were some that were from Vancouver, and a lot of them were American, and some of them had like flown up from California for the audition, and they'd auditioned like a bunch of times before for Disneyland and stuff like that, but they hadn't made it. So that was intimidating because this was my first audition. I really just wanted to go for the experience, honestly, because I want to audition in the future and maybe do the Disney College program, so I wanted to have an audition under my belt just to see what it was like. Although I did really want to get cast, but it's okay. So once they had registration set up, we got in a line. It was in a dance studio, so the table was at one end of the room, the short end of the room, because it was a rectangle. And the line actually zigzagged because there were so many people, but I was towards the front of the line. They gave you, well, they had you sign in your name next to a number, and that was your audition number. Mine was 35, and then they gave you the sticker that you were supposed to wear, and then you gave them your resume and headshot, and they stapled your audition sheet to the back of it. I guess that's where they wrote down stuff. And then they handed that back to you, and then you would go to get measured. And you gave the guy the sheets, and he would write down your height. So to get measured, you take your shoes off and you stand up against the wall where they have like a measuring tape stuck to the wall. But when I was there, I was also watching other people, and it seemed like they did this. They put the measure thing like this, but then they had it tilt down towards the wall, so they measured it as shorter than you are. And I'd heard that for other auditions, they measure you based on who they think you should be. Like if they see you as a character, then they'll write down your height as closer to the height that they're looking for that character. And I'm just under 5'4", but they said for the characters, so this was a look-alike audition, and they were looking for princesses, which is from 5'3" to 5'7". And so I was right on the lower edge, and I don't know if that hurt me or not for the audition, but yeah, for mine, they measured shorter than you are, I think. So then they write that down on your sheet, and then you just wait for everyone to get checked in. So check-in was supposed to be until 10, and it went till like 10:40, and there were only 70 people at this audition, but they did them all at once before they started the actual audition, which took forever. So then they debriefed us on what it was going to be like and what the contracts were for each of the so for the cruise line and then Shanghai. So for Shanghai Disney, they were looking for lookalikes right away, but also to be contracted starting in February. So some people would be flown out right away, but then most who got chosen wouldn't be starting until February. And the contract included, it's like salary, not hourly, so it included medical, and they would pay for your flight, and they have housing in Shanghai for the entertainment, I guess. So it's right by the parks. And then the cruise line, they were looking for face characters, but on the cruise ship, you would be a face character and a fur character, so that's the one in the full body suit. Um, and so that would be for a 10-month long contract. And it would be those full 10 months, I believe. And they have 2 different casting cycles per year for the cruise ships. So you'd be considered for both cycles for the next year if you made it. So like if you didn't hear back right away, you could still be chosen for the second cycle. And they said for that, on the cruise ship, you wouldn't have a full day off. You would always be working for at least part of the day, but then you'd have like the other part of the day off or whatever. Versus in the parks, they do give you days off, like full days off. So that was interesting. I didn't know that. And then we started learning the choreography. They taught it to us as an entire group. And it was really crowded in the audition room. And I think part of what I did wrong is I couldn't get to the front for any of it when they were teaching it to us. So I didn't feel like I knew the choreography very well. It was to Michael Bublé's Moon Dance, which I thought was cool because I expected it to be Disney music, but it was a good song. The choreography was pretty difficult. I am a dancer. I did ballet for 7 years, but there were a lot of girls that were like currently dancers, and you could tell who was a dancer in that room. But there were a lot of like arm movements, like princessy and curtsies and turns and everything. It was really long choreography. I expected it to be maybe 4 counts of 8, but it was a lot. Like I'd say at least 10 counts of 8 in a row. And when they taught it to you, it seemed slow, but then put to music, it was really fast. And it was really intimidating because they would teach you like 2 counts of 8, and then we'd run it with the music a couple times, and then they teach you more, and so it was hard to get it all down. And again, I couldn't really see that well, so definitely try to get to the front. They did have us switch rows, I guess, so they had people from the back move to the front, but when that happened, everyone surged forwards, so it was always the same people that were in the front. And like during the turns, when we were practicing it as a group, I couldn't put my arms out like all the way because there were people right there. So I wish they had split it up into 2 groups. But I know they were also like trying to get back on schedule because the registration took so long. So the casting directors, they hurried up the choreographers. They were like, we need to start, the choreographer wanted us to do more practice, but we weren't allowed to do that. So we did run it a couple times with like in groups of like half of us, so that was a little bit better, but that was it until the actual audition. So they sat the casting directors like in front of the mirrors, so we were facing the mirrors, and then they had us come out in groups of 5 in numerical order. So I was number 35, but the numbers started at like 20, so I was like 15th in line, but then I was in like the 3rd group. So there were 2 casting directors. One of them was from the cruise line, and one of them was from Shanghai Disney. So they were looking for 2 different things. So that's why they had them both there. And so you went up, you danced it once, and they did have the choreographers in each corner in the front, so you could watch them. And they said that, so here's the weird thing. They said they weren't looking for dancers, yet they taught us this really complicated dance. They just said, like, look confident and show us the movement with your body because they want you to be able to tell a story with just your movements without your voice. So I understand that, but I was expecting like the animation sequence or whatever, which you hear about for regular face character auditions and just character performer auditions in general. So they went in groups of 5, and after each group went up, the casting directors took notes and they made 3 piles with the audition papers. I found out later, one was for people getting cut, one was for people to stay for Shanghai, and one was for people to stay for the cruise line. So after everyone went, they took a little break to just talk it over, I guess, and it was like less than 5 minutes, and then they got everyone's attention, they called numbers to stay, and unfortunately mine wasn't called, and the rest of us were sent home. And I think they kept a third of the people, but they were in 2 groups. So the people to stay for the cruise line were taught another harder dance, and then the people that stayed for Shanghai, they went into another room with scripts and they were going to read, and the guy had a camera to film them. So that's all I know from that point because I was cut. So I don't know if that was the last round or if the people who had learned the harder dance for the Disney Cruise Line would, I don't know, have their pictures taken or read from a script or whatever. So I have no idea what happened. But later when I was looking online for like at the information for the cruise line, they were also they said that some people might be dancers on the cruise ship too, like background dancers, I guess, for shows. So I think that's why they did the dancing, so they could find good dancers that they also saw as characters, so that they could have multiple roles on the ship. That's just what I think. I don't know if that's fact. And also they listed possible like movies they were looking for characters from, like I guess just as examples, but they said, I have it written down, Beauty and the Beast, The Little Mermaid, Frozen, Tangled, Pirates of the Caribbean, and Brave. Those are the only ones I remember. So I don't know if those were examples or if those were actually the characters they were looking for. So there were guys at the audition. There were maybe 10 or less. And the casting call was for guys and girls. The guys, they were looking for princes, but also people to be Marvel superheroes. So the heights were different for those, and they wanted like more muscly build for the superheroes. I don't remember what the heights were because I was only looking at the princesses. They were looking for princesses, and that's what I cared about. And then I also noticed for the cruise line, for the heights, they had like specific ranges. So one of them, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was like 5'1" to 5'2", 5'4" to 5'6", 5'8" to 5'10", or something like that, where every 2 inches there would be like an inch that they weren't looking for. And I don't know why that was, if that was for like the fur costumes or what. But it also looked like if you were shorter than 5'3", they were also looking for fairies or something. So I don't know. They don't tell you anything about what they're looking for or why you didn't get picked, but they did say, if you do get cut this time, that doesn't mean we aren't looking for you in the future. Like, you just might not be what we're looking for at this point. You might fit something that we don't need right now, so just keep auditioning. They were super positive and nice about it. And they were joking with us the whole time. It was a very easygoing audition, and I had fun. So I guess I'll talk about like what I wore and some tips, just because. So I wore this shirt, but I wore a tank top underneath that came up pretty high. You don't want to show cleavage. You don't want to dress too mature. I saw girls there that were wearing like crop tops and leotards that were like they had cutouts and stuff, and I do not recommend wearing those because a lot of the Disney characters are not little girls, but they're in their early teens or they're like 16 and they're not looking for it to be too adult. And I wore like capri leggings, and I changed into jazz shoes at the audition. But I'd say for shoes, just wear whatever you're comfortable dancing in. There were a lot of people wearing jazz shoes or character shoes, and I know everyone says like bring that, but don't spend money on them if you don't have it. Just wear something you can move in. And they decided to wear form-fitting clothes so they could see your body and how you moved, because it is a face character, so they do need to see that. Um, so don't wear like a baggy shirt. Um, yeah. I did my makeup like this. I had my hair down and curled. I covered up my tattoo with makeup completely. I know they say no tattoos. Oh, and I took out my nose ring. Um, but I felt like if they asked, I could show them that, like, look, I can cover it up completely. Like, it's not a problem if you do want to cast me. But I didn't get to that point, so whatever. I did see another girl. She was wearing a long sleeve shirt, but she had like a little tattoo right here, and she did try to cover it up with foundation, but I could see it from like a ways away. So you don't. If you have a tattoo, it's up to you, but you can leave it uncovered. And sometimes if it's in a spot like, say, like on your lower back or something, that wouldn't show in a costume anyway, so it doesn't matter. Um, yeah. So my hair was down and curly, but I didn't pull it out of my face for the dancing, and I feel like that threw me off when I was auditioning. So definitely, if you have long hair or bangs or something and you think that'll get in your way, pin it back. Um, or you could have your hair up, like it doesn't really matter. There were girls there that had flowers in their hair, and I thought that was cute, and like it makes you stand out. So that's good, something you could do. It's a good idea. But don't try to dress like a specific character. This A lot of people say this, but don't do that because they might see you as someone completely different. You don't know what they're looking for, so you don't want to get a character stuck in their head when they're looking at you, because that might be your downfall. So just go in there with an open mind. And also, I would say do not expect a certain thing to happen at the audition. Like, I watched a million videos, I read a million things about what the audition was going to be like, and it wasn't like any of them. So go in there with an open mind. It's good to have background knowledge, but don't expect anything because it can be completely different. And you'll never know until you're there. So just go there, have fun. Definitely have fun. They tell you that when you're there, but you're not there to be nervous. I mean, I was nervous, but don't let that show. Just let yourself relax and enjoy yourself. Smile. Everyone says smile from the second you walk in that door, and I was worried about that happening for me, like about not happening for me, because I was nervous, and like it's hard to remember to smile constantly, but I was so excited. I was just so happy to be there, and you meet some awesome, kind, wonderful people. So it was easy to smile the whole time. So like don't stress about it, but I have a mean face when I'm just like not trying to make my face look nice. So for me, it's important to like make my face look happy in that situation. Um, so yeah, just have fun, smile, relax. I was surprised that I wasn't that nervous. Like I was nervous the night before and before I got there, but once I got there and I was talking to people, having fun, I wasn't that nervous like at all until right before my number was called to go dance, and then as soon as I started dancing, it went away. Um, so yeah, just don't stress about it and bring food and water. I mean, that's kind of basic, but yeah. So that was my audition experience. I probably rambled a lot and I probably forgot some stuff, but that's what it was like for me, and I hope this helps someone. And if you're thinking about auditioning, do it. It's free. If there's one nearby, just go. You'll meet people, you'll have a new experience, and you might get it, or You might find out that that's something that you really want to do, so you'll keep trying. Don't give up. And yeah, so I'm definitely going to keep auditioning, and I want to apply for the college program. And if I do, I'll definitely go to the audition for that. Um, so yeah, I guess I'll end this here, but I hope this helped someone. Bye.